Volkanovski didn't wait around after his last fight. While most people were still debating what was next, he was already back in the gym, quietly gearing up for Diego Lopes. And now everyone can see his hard work. That alone says a lot about how seriously he's taking this fight and what kind of version he's trying to build. Angelo Bodetti didn't really buy into the outrage around this rematch. He made it clear the UFC wasn't picking based on rankings alone. This was about excitement. Lopes brings chaos, pressure, and a fan-friendly style, and that matters more than being undefeated on paper. That's why Diego got the call again, not because it was fair, but because it sells and delivers action.
When this fight was announced, there was a lot of backlash. People were furious to see that Diego Lopes jumped over two undefeated guys to get a second crack at the title. My personal opinion, though, is that Movsar Evloev was the rightful next in line. He should be fighting Alexander Volkanovski. Movsar is undefeated. Movsar is coming off a win over a former world champion, and Movsar beat Diego Lopes. He has a win over Diego Lopes. But I understand what the UFC didn't do it. Movsar is boring as shit. He is not a fun guy. He's boring. Simple as that. Lerone, the other undefeated gentleman who was passed over for a title shot, can also be boring. Diego, not boring. You see how simple that is? And that is literally the conversations the matchmakers have in the room. They've got the war room, they got the whiteboard, they got all this, and they're like, should we do Movsar? I don't know, man. That guy's boring as shit. All right. What about Lerone Murphy? I don't know, man. Yeah, he knocked out Pico, but he's pretty fucking boring outside of that. What about Diego Lopes? Hell yeah. Book it. Because not only is he exciting, he appeals to the Mexican crowd. He appeals to the Brazilian crowd.
When he got into the actual fight, Angelo sat in the middle. He saw Volkanovski as the cleaner, more reliable fighter the first time. Volkanov stayed busy, pushed the pace, and controlled most of it. But he also pointed out something important. Diego was the only one who truly came close to ending the fight. That danger never went away, even over 5 rounds.
So when we start to break down this fight, we have to decide who we thought looked better or worse in the first fight. We have to look at how that first fight went. Was it a masterclass from Volk with one slight sip up, just getting him rocked in the second round? Or was Diego frozen by the moment with the jitters in his first main event? But this time, with that out of the way, he's going to thrive. I'm somewhere in the middle. It was clear to me that Volk was the better fighter in their first matchup, but Diego was the only one close to finding a finish. Volkanovski didn't almost finish Diego Lopes. He just did what he does. Stayed busy, got in his face, got the takedowns, didn't worry about it. He just stayed busy. Diego Lopes was the one who almost found a finish.
In the end, he gave his prediction, and his pick leaned toward Volk. Angelo felt Volk surviving that scare last time gave him confidence, especially after the recent knockouts. He expects smarter decisions, maybe quicker wrestling, and fewer risks. Still, he didn't dismiss Diego at all. If Lopes wins, it's likely sudden and violent. If it goes long, Volk probably takes it again.
I have to lean Volk. I'm going to have to lean. I got to use the big boy brain. I picked Diego the first time. I was wrong. I was almost right in the second round. I ended up being wrong. And now that Volk almost got knocked out but didn't and survived and won, A, gives him confidence that his chin isn't completely gone because before that, he got knocked out 2 times in a row. And B, might just tell him to shoot a takedown pretty quick. I'm not messing around up here. I'll shoot takedowns. My jiu-jitsu's fine. I'll be good. Alexander Volkanovski is going to be the pick. The only real bet that'll make a ton of sense here when the odds drop will be Diego Lopes win inside the distance, decision, no action. You can put as much money as you want on that. All that bet means is if Diego finishes Alexander Volkanovski, you get paid. But if he loses a decision, hell, if he somehow wins a decision, you get a full refund. The bet never happened. The only way you lose that bet and they keep your money is if Volk finishes Diego Lopes, and we know that's not going to happen, so expect that.
Lerone didn't see this rematch flipping much. In his eyes, this matchup heavily favors Volkanovski almost every time they line up. He acknowledged Lopes' real power and that danger is always there, but he framed it as a small window. The bigger picture for him was Volkanovski's ability to fight smart, manage risk, and not give those openings away repeatedly.
I see it going the same way, to be honest. Obviously, Diego supposedly hits hard. He's got a puncher's chance. Any MMA fight, we know that it's a very dangerous fight. But I think if they fight 100 times, I think Volkanovski wins 95. That's my opinion. I believe Volkanovski comes out of it. He fights a smart fight again. And
he also pointed to what he noticed in Lopes' recent fights. Lerone felt that Diego gets hit far more than people talk about. He mentioned moments where Lopes was getting shaken and left exposed, and that stood out to him. When he compared that to Volk's style, the gap felt clear. Volk sees those mistakes, punishes them, and doesn't rush into chaos unless he has to.
Bro, if you look at Diego's last fight with Silva, he was getting rocked.
Oh yeah,
he was getting rocked, bro. He was getting rocked, and I think Volkanovski is a very, very, very smart fighter. And if I watch that fight with Silva, I see so many openings in Diego's defense. So many openings. I would love that fight. I can't wait to get that fight as well. So yeah, I need to keep winning. Hopefully he keeps winning.
Yeah, I think you've done enough fucking winning. I think they just need. I just got to keep on winning, right? I mean, you know, and I will say this: like that was one thing that I focused on in my career is keep on winning, keep on winning. The money's gonna come. Keep on winning. The fans are gonna turn. Keep on winning. You're gonna get pay-per-view points. And honestly, that shit never came. Like, the money never came. Like, I had to leave the fucking promotion to start making fucking big dick money, right? And that...
Later on, Demetrius Johnson dove in as well and focused on what Lopes didn't do the first time. He was surprised Diego chose to stand and trade instead of leaning into his grappling. To him, that was a missed chance. If Lopes wants a real shot this time, Lerone and Johnson believe that chaos and scrambles are the path, not clean striking exchanges. Standing in front of Volk again would likely lead to the same result.
The one thing I would say about that Diego versus Alex Volkanovski fight is I was shocked that Diego Lopes didn't use more of his grappling the first time they fought. Like, he stayed there and tried to outstrike Alex Volkanovski.
Yes.
Alex Volkanovski was doing a good job turning that angle, popping him, and moving out. And Diego Lopes has a very, very great grappling game. Great grappling game.
Yeah, it's nasty. It's nasty. He doesn't use it, though. He doesn't use it. He stands and bangs with everyone. And it would be very interesting to see if he changes his game plan. Because I don't think he's a high-level wrestler, but his grappling's nasty. And I think he needs to create more scrambles, create more chaos.
Yeah.
And hopefully catch a neck on the way or catch the back, whatever he needs to do. But yeah, like you said, he stood in front of him, and that was a horrible, great game plan against somebody that's slick on the outside, moves. Volkanovski's a master at that, isn't he?
Yeah.
MMA Guru felt this fight didn't really change how he sees Volk. He clearly leaned toward Volk winning again, not because Lopes is bad, but because he didn't think the matchup had changed in any meaningful way. From his point of view, Lopes already had his shot, already lost, and nothing since then showed him suddenly being the guy to flip the result. He also tied his pick to where Volk is in his career. Guru treated this like a controlled business-type fight for Volk. Even with the talk about inactivity, he saw Volk as someone who was waiting for the right moment, especially with the Australia card. He didn't believe this fight added much to Volk's legacy, and that alone said a lot about how he saw the result going.
Lopes just lost to Volk in Volk's last defense. I know Volk's not been the most active, but he was waiting for this Australia card. And by the way, this is a week after the UFC 324 card. We got 2 pay-per-views back-to-back. They're not pay-per-views, I get it, but 2 numbered events back-to-back. Volkanovski, Lopes too. This is disgusting. Diego Lopes beat Gene Silva. Movsar Evloev is there. I know he's been inactive, and people are talking about Lerone Murphy like he didn't just beat fucking Josh Emmett and Aaron Pico. The Murphy one is like, okay, well, we haven't really seen him beat a top 5 guy yet. It's not like he's the Tony Ferguson of the division that people are making him out to be. You got to do one more, and I've been waiting for guys to do one more, but there's been no time for it because of the timing of things. But Evloev, Aljo, something fresh, something new. Aljo, former champ. I know he lost to Evloev, but Evloev's right there, the undefeated Dagestani guy for Volk to take on in his last fight. This is Volk's last fight. And you've just made him fight Lopez back-to-back. This does nothing for his legacy. This does nothing for his legacy, man.
In James Lynch's opinion, Volk controlled the fight from start to finish, and nothing about that matchup showed Lopes had an answer. Because of that, Lynch leaned toward Volk winning again if they run it back. His issue wasn't with Lopes himself, but with redoing a fight that already felt decided.
This sucks. Like, what are we doing here? And I like Diego Lopes. This is not any sort of shade on him whatsoever, and full marks for his last win over Jean Silva. Outstanding performance. He's right near the top, but why are we doing this rematch so soon? It's not even a year since the last fight took place. That fight was back in April of 2025. Of course, Volk winning back the title when the title was vacant with Ilia Topuria moving up. And now Lopez is getting another shot after one fight. This is what Volk's been waiting for, to fight Diego Lopes again. Like, what are we doing? And
he also explained why he thinks the second fight could lean even more toward Volk. Lynch brought up how wide the gap was the first time, especially in strike count and control. Volk was landing more, winning every round, and using wrestling when he needed it.
We go look at the first fight. If you look on MMA decisions, the fight did go the distance, but not a single media member scored the fight for Diego Lopes, right? And then you could say, well, you know what? It was still close, right? But then if you look at the actual stats here, significant strikes, there's a huge difference here. 158 to 63. Total strikes, 165 to 71. And then you look at the takedowns. Volk got a takedown. Lopez got no takedowns. You look at the rounds, Volk's in red here, all Volk. Like, I can understand if we had a fight, like, for example, we had the Umar and Merab fight. That fight was close. Merab won. I don't think there's any debate that he won. But that fight, you could say it's at least a little bit closer. And, again, like, that fight I can understand. But this fight wasn't close. Like,
Lynch also touched on how this could backfire for Lopes. He felt taking the rematch this soon puts Lopes in a bad spot. If he loses again, he's stuck while Volk moves on to new challengers. That's why Lynch thought the UFC rushed this instead of letting Lopes stack more wins.
And then let's boil this down a different way. What if Volk goes out there and he beats Lopez again? What the hell does Lopez do? He waits for Volk to retire? That might be a bit. I don't know. We'll see. I just think this is so short-sighted of the UFC. It reminds me when they booked Yuri against Pereira so quickly after Yuri's lost the title to Pereira. They did it a couple fights later, and now, as of this year, Yuri's in the spot where it's like, should he really fight Pereira again after losing to him twice? Lopez would be in the same boat here if he loses again. I think it's really short-sighted to the UFC. And
Bedtime MMA made it clear he does not see this rematch going any differently. He thinks Volk already proved the gap in the first fight, and that Lopes did not really show anything new that would change the outcome. In his view, Volk already beat him clean, controlled most of the fight, and the only reason it even looked competitive at times was because Lopes can take shots. That toughness kept him standing, not some big shift in skill. Because of that, he expects Volk to beat him again, and feels this matchup does not deserve to be run back so soon. He also leaned into the idea that this rematch says more about matchmaking than competition. From his side, Volk winning again feels obvious, and Lopes getting another shot feels forced when fresher names are waiting. He sees this as Volk doing his job again rather than a real test. The prediction stays simple for him. Volk outclasses Lopes, manages the fight, and walks away with another clear win, even if Lopes has a few moments just from pressure and durability. In an interview with Demetrius Johnson, Alex made it clear why this fight still works for him, even though he wanted the Ilia rematch first. This is still a meaningful challenge. Lopes is new school, full of hype, and people believe in him. Beating someone like that does more than just win a belt. It proves Alex can still handle the next wave, not just names from his own era. What stood out most was how much this fight ties into his bigger picture. Alex knows the doubts are loud. 2 knockouts, time off, age questions, all of it. He didn't argue with the critics, he accepted it and leaned into it. This fight feels personal, like another chapter he wants written his way, not explained away with excuses. It's official now, the rematch is happening and there's no more guessing left. Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes are set to do this again, and the stakes feel even bigger this time. Volk is already deep in training, focused on tightening every detail and making sure there are no risky moments. Lopes, on the other hand, believes he's grown since the first fight and sees this as his moment to flip the result. Both guys know exactly what they're dealing with now, which makes this rematch even more interesting. Let us know in the comments below who you're backing when they step back into the cage.